Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for tuning into my little podcast. You have a lot to choose from, but you chose mine, so I appreciate it. Just a reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content, and also to follow the pod anywhere you get your podcast, and make sure you hit that bell icon to be reminded of when new episodes drop. My next guest brings the perfect blend of French sophistication and Miami flair. Hailing from Paris, France, she spent over 3 decades mastering her craft, earning awards, and even battling it out on Food Network's Guys Grocery Games. Now she is in Miami, shaking up the Miami dining scene with her latest venture, Ostrow Brasserie, a groundbreaking upscale kosher French restaurant, unlike anything Miami has ever seen. So welcome to the podcast, Chef Olivia Ostrow. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Oh, good. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. So, your career has spanned 3 decades, which is a long time for anybody to do a job. How have you kept your passion up for cooking? What is it that keeps you going every day?
I mean, to be honest, like the true answer to that is I don't know. I still like surprise myself that I'm not completely burned out by this industry, and that even when I'm not actually working, my way to find peace and balance in my own home is still to cook. So I don't really know. The only thing I can say is you do have to be passionate to be in this industry. It is, an industry that's very difficult. It is not an industry where many of us will end up to be billionaire and have private jets. It is an industry where when you are a woman can be harder than other. It is an industry where your feet will hurt and you never know when you will take your shoes off. And it's an industry where you cannot really get your nails done on a regular basis and put your eyelashes on. So you have to love it. And I think it just happened that I feel I was made for that industry, and it's still my happy place.
Yeah, I mean, the restaurant industry is kind of known for chewing people up and spitting them out. So having somebody in the trenches like yourself for as long as you have been is truly inspiring. And that, if you do truly have a passion for something, work doesn't seem like work. I mean, there are good days, there are bad days, but for you, it seems like you find passion in doing this every day, and has kept you going for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, the fact also that I think I'm very diverse in my days. Like I'll be on the line, I'll be running the business side of things. I also, I'm very attached to the people who work with me and around me. I like to create, a family surrounding for people who work with me. And it's for them, and it's also selfishly for myself. So it does, bring, a sense of you're not only going to work, but you're going home. So every day when you go to the restaurant, it is another facet of your own life. And no, I don't have my dogs and my kids here or my husband, but I have my other family, which is my work family. And
Yeah.
I think it's very important also to recognize toxicity when you see it and to set boundaries for yourself. It happens that sometimes I have people with just great talent that work with me on my line, but they are not people that I would necessarily want to have at my dinner table. So I feel like maybe those people are not the right choice. And this is also knowing those signs where if you want to keep on working and not necessarily look at your watch every 30 minutes to know when the service is going to be over, you have to also surround yourself with the right people. This is a very, like you say, it's an industry that can spit you out. I don't spit out people, so I actually choose very carefully the people I surround myself with.
Yeah, that's great advice for any kind of business, restaurant or otherwise, right? You pick good people that you can train up and trust and depend on, that can help run the business for you and help make your life
Yeah,
easier and give
yeah.
them a good living. Yeah, so that's good. So
Absolutely. And it's all about recognizing talent, you know?
yeah,
It's recognizing talent and recognizing shortcomings in people. Like who's going to be your best match in what area?
right, right. So I want to talk about some of your early influences. You have a very interesting story of how you ended up in Miami. So you grew up in France, and you credit your father with kind of exposing you and influencing you early in fine dining and culinary arts. So how did your father do that for you as a child growing up in France?
So I don't want to sound like, I'm pitching like the next award, Academy Award winning movie, but But my father was always he was my first laugh and my first smile. He was someone I always looked up to, and he was passionate about food more than anyone I've ever met. He invested in restaurants. He was a business owner. He was a real estate developer, but also invested in restaurants all over the world, including Paris. When I was 3 years old, him and my grandfather took me to my first Michelin star. We drove 4 hours
Wow.
from Paris to go there. It was in Brittany, and I still remember everything about it. It was a restaurant called Laurent Bar, which doesn't exist anymore. That was fantastic. And it was always, it was always in our everyday life. Like we had a country house where we would go on the weekend, and my grandparents would meet us and my cousin, and the entire 3 days from Friday to Sunday was around this huge table and with food laid out non-stop. And it was my mom cooking, my father cooking, my aunt, my grandmother bringing the wine. There was a cave under, wine cave, like a proper old school wine cellar where my grandfather, would keep wine. That was our life. That was our life.
Wow.
So I really like grew up in it. And of course, I have an advantage of taste bud on a lot of people because I think growing up in Paris, even the taste of a Diet Coke or Coke is not the same. You grab, in any random bakery at the corner in the worst neighborhood of baguette, it's still going to be the best baguette you've ever had. So I do have, like the location of my, of me being raised in Paris, definitely I feel gave me an advantage on that, on others that's,
Yeah.
maybe not had that chance.
That is remarkable. So I want to ask this, and it's going to seem kind of weird, but what did your childhood smell like? Being around all those restaurants, what smells do you remember the most that have influenced you as a chef today?
Tarragon. My childhood smelled like tarragon, which to this day is my favorite ingredient that you see a lot on every menu I have. Um, we used to put it in fish. We put it in our dressing, which is my signature, like dressing at the restaurant. And I would say tarragon and chestnuts. Chestnuts is the smell of winter in Paris, where, in the street you have people, like who grill chestnut when it gets really cold. And chestnut is also an ingredient that you always find either in my dessert or in salads or, like in my menu. Those are like two flavor and two smells that feel like home and that I like to pass along to the people who not only eat at the restaurant but also work with me. But it's sometimes even a joke when I sit with my team and we have, for example, we prep for private events. We have a lot of clients that come to me and say they want, curated, like dining experience completely off the menu in the private room. So this is where my creativity goes off the wagon, and I create with my team a complete different menu. There's always jokes in those meetings because there's always the word tarragon that comes out, and everybody makes fun of me for that.
Oh, tarragon again.
Yeah, it's my happy place. I always say, bury me in tarragon leaf and I'll go to heaven.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So as you move through your career, I think I read somewhere that you mentored under the chef that cooked for French President Jacques Chirac. So
Yes.
what kind of tips and tricks did you learn under that mentorship that you use today?
So this is where it actually all began. I was going to business school. I was in North Carolina. And my father, one of the in restaurant he owned was in North Carolina. So, like any student, I asked him for a job. He's like, perfect. You're going to be a hostess. I'm like, amazing. And I arrived at the restaurant, and after a week, I looked at my dad. I'm like, I can't do that. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have to talk to people and smile. It hurts my face. I'm like, I can't do that.
These people are the worst.
And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm not going to just give you money. I'm like, I want to work in the kitchen. He's like, okay. So little did I know I was washing dishes for 3 months. And then little did I know that wonderful Chef Francois took me, saved me out of the dish pit and showed me how to cut onions. And then that's how it all started. What he taught me is actually has nothing to do directly with the food, but with the discipline of being on time, working hard, and always having a sense of humor. And knowing how to humor yourself, knowing how to humor others, and knowing how to humor the guest and the guest's request, and not taking sometimes things too seriously. So that's what I really learned.
That's good. That's good. Now you mentioned North Carolina as kind of like your starting point there, and you transitioned from France to North Carolina. Now, I moved from Michigan to Georgia, and that was a culture shock. So I can't even imagine what was the cultural adjustments that you had to make moving from Paris to a little town like Greensboro, North Carolina.
So the culture shock was actually a funny one. I had to get used to people not understanding that Europe was like a continent, and it was actually quite big. Because when they would talk to me and I would tell them I'm from Paris, they would ask me if I knew their cousin who lived in Greece.
Oh my goodness.
So I think that was the culture shock. That was the culture shock. And also discovering donuts, warm donuts at Krispy Kreme with the light going on. I never had a donut in my life. I never knew this thing was melting. And then there was this burger place that's all over North Carolina called Cookout. And I think they spray fume of grill meat. And the culture shock was not gaining 100,000 pounds. That was the culture shock.
I mean, that's Cookout and Krispy Kreme are institutions here in America,
yes. But I mean, the culture shock was also walking into a supermarket and seeing that everything has been canned, dressing in a can. To this day, I still don't know, by the way, what hamburger helper is. Like, I don't understand. What's in that box? Is there meat? Is it cheese? Is it a dressing? I don't know. And I'm not sure I actually want to know, but that was the culture shock. That was the culture shock. And no matter what, I don't want to sound like a French arrogant person, but to this day, when I go to France, and I've been in this country for a very long time, I run to supermarket and I feel like, oh, finally, I'm back in heaven.
Yeah, we love our processed food here in America. I'm not going to lie to you. Hamburger helper, it's powdered cheese and a lot of sodium.
Yes. Yes. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
So you've been kind of an overachiever your entire life. You graduated high school early at 15, and you got an MBA soon thereafter. So what aspects of the business education influenced your work in your restaurants?
Oh my God. It's not influence. It's I don't think anyone can be successful as a chef if they don't have a business background.
Mm,
I don't think it's doable. I really don't see it happening. It's one thing to be creative. It's one thing to, like have a visualized flavor in your mind. But, if you don't understand food cost, if you don't understand, like labor, if you don't understand, your table seating and the pace and all the management behind, and if you don't have like a marketing set of mind, yes, maybe you can be a chef, but you certainly cannot own a restaurant. So it's not an influence, it's just a knowledge.
yeah.
And also, um, you see, I'm 50 years old and I still have thought in my mind that what I do does not save the world. I am not, practicing open heart surgery here. I am not, like on the ground with the IDF. I am not doing any of that. I'm just feeding people. And the safety of feeling that you have a business knowledge make me feel that if tomorrow my entire career falls to shit, excuse my French, I can just, go and sell shoes or, build and jump industry. So I'm not saying that, I don't want to sound like an old school person. Hey, have a degree, you never know. But I do think the business kind of thing is what I live, by and balance well my creativity.
Yeah, I mean, the profit margins on restaurants are well known to be razor thin, and if you don't
Yeah.
understand that, you can
Yes.
love cooking as much as someone like you loves cooking, but if you don't have that business mindset of being able to operate, profit and loss, and trying to control
Yes.
labor cost and trying to control vendor and
Correct.
supplier cost, then
Correct.
you're just a good cook, but you're not going to be
Exactly.
able to stay in business for very long. And I've heard
No.
so many
No.
stories of restaurants, shutting down after a year because they just couldn't figure that piece of it out.
Yeah.
So I think a good advice that you're saying is learn the business side of things, or partner with somebody that can run the business side of things. If
Correct.
you want to be the creative, but you got to make sure you have to make some money to be creative. Um,
Exactly. And
so
also, like, not to play the whole poor me, I'm a woman in a man industry. But I think when you're a woman, whatever can give you confidence to stand up to, big boss, big client, big teams, big this, big that, whatever knowledge you can own in your own pocket and whatever makes you feel like you would stand on your two feet if you had to and be self-sufficient, you need to use. So I do not lack self what's the right word? I mean, I'm a pretty confident person, and I
right,
think the business part of me is mostly what make me that way over the food part of things.
yeah.
Like I understand what I'm talking about.
Right, right. And you have that advantage of getting that MBA, but also growing up in an environment that exposed you to food and creativity
Correct.
within food early.
Correct.
And you were able to merge those two together to create your newest restaurant venture, Ostrow Brasserie. So I kind of want to talk about your new restaurant. I was reading up on it, and I haven't been to Miami yet. I do. It's on my bucket list of places to visit. So I definitely want to visit your place when I get there. So, what inspired you to create a French kosher restaurant? Other than it hasn't been done in before, I'm sure that's part of it. But why French kosher as opposed to just a straight up French restaurant?
So there's two factors. One, when COVID hit,
Mm,
I started, like eating kosher at my house. because I felt like it was more sanitary and it was, better for me to do that. So I was back on my path of, kosher, what we call kashrut and kosher living. And so that's one reason. The second reason is when I decided finally to go back to open a restaurant, um, I I started looking at spaces, and everything, sometimes when you say everything happened for a reason. So I drive a Vespa. I started driving my Vespa around town in like random part of Miami. And then I saw this location that has a big sell sign in front of it. And I looked at the window. It was not the prettiest place. It's in an odd neighborhood, but I could see a kitchen that was kind of open. It was not pretty though. I called the number on the wall. I insisted to see, the place. The owner was out of town. Then next thing you know, I meet, with a young gentleman who's like, well, my dad is the owner. He's in Israel right now. I'm like, whoa, okay. I
Wow.
like that. I like where we're going. He's like, let's call him. Let's get him on the phone. We called him, and then there was a click even through the phone with that gentleman who said, I'm back on Sunday. Let's meet Sunday afternoon. I walked in on Sunday afternoon. There was a lot of people before me that were like looking at the space. I sat down. I'm like, I want to open a French restaurant. He looked at me, he said, kosher? I'm like, I'm not opposed to the ideas. Like, if you do kosher, I'm your business partner. And
Wow.
then we shook hands, and that was the end.
A good handshake deal.
It was a good handshake deal. Mind you, my husband was sitting at the table and he's an attorney, so that didn't hurt. But,
it was a notarized handshake deal.
But let's romanticize it and let's say it was only on a handshake. Yes. Sure.
And kind of looking at your background, are we at your restaurant there?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a very beautiful painting that you have back there. So I imagine the whole place is kind of very vibrant and colorful.
Yes.
Yes. So I look forward to one day eating there when I set foot in Miami.
It's a must. It's a must.
So when you were creating the menu concept for Ostrow Brasserie, what challenges did you face trying to blend these two types of cuisines that, at first glance may not seem to fit together? What kind of things did you run into?
So the challenge is, French food uses butter. Obviously, when you do kosher, if you're a meat restaurant, you do not mix with dairy. So my restaurant has to be entirely dairy-free. The challenges was that. The challenges was, in a French brasserie, you want to have an oyster bar, you want to have this, you want to have all the wine you want, or not all the wine is kosher. So challenges still on today. It's an everyday, it's the way we work. But I do not compromise in my life, in my work, and in my food. So what makes my restaurant and what I'm creating here extremely different and unique from any other restaurant is if the food and if the dish we are making is not as exactly the flavor of the French dish, if I was using butter, it does not hit the menu. And that is the challenge. We had to source crazy items. We had to start making our own cheese to have the blue cheese flavor for our endive salad. We had to push, and we still do all the time, pushing limits, pushing ourselves. And the pastry, my dessert menu, I have an incredible pastry chef. But at the beginning, me and her were working together. She almost, threw down her apron and walked out 100 times. Because I was telling her, no, we are going to make that dessert, but it's not possible. There's no cream. I'm like, no, we are going to make that dessert. And now She's loving it. She's proud of herself. You wouldn't know that that it's what we call parve, which is, a non-dairy, way of cooking. We even make our own butter. I mean, it's a very challenging yet rewarding uh, place to be in life. Uh, yes, it could be another French restaurant. Yes, the challenges are also in the fact that everything kosher is 3 times the price.
Mm.
So, the ticket on the check is going to obviously be higher, but we create everything from scratch. You know that nothing comes out of a bottle. You know that Cisco didn't just do a delivery of my Caesar dressing. No offense, Cisco, yet I can't stand you. Um, but so there's the challenge, and then there's the accomplishment that is so beneficiary for the guest that eats here, because they know that everything is made from scratch.
Right, right. And what an environment for a young chef to come and work at your place. And, it's almost like maybe they go to culinary school or they go to other restaurants to work, and then they get to your place and you're basically like, everything throw it out the window, because
Exactly.
we're doing everything completely different here. And I'm going to challenge your beliefs. I'm going to challenge your mindset on how food is made, and you're going to come out a better chef for having done it. I mean, that's got to be a remarkable environment for somebody to cut their teeth on as a chef.
So I'm very fortunate that the 3 people that are like the main character of my Ostrow Brasserie movie are incredibly talented, and they love challenge as much as I do, and they took it on, and we together, the 4 of us, create something spectacular. uh some people cannot understand. Some people, like, are not cut for it. But the only reason I exist and this restaurant stand, it's because of the entire team. So we all have that mindset of challenge and creating something crazy. Obviously, I'm a little bit crazier than most of them, but that's also what makes me, the leader. And that's also my job. It's my restaurant. So sometimes you need to push everybody a little bit more. But at the end, I think the reward is exceptional. We make our own pasta. We have this morel and chicken pasta on our menu, and with a cream sauce. And it's probably one of the best pasta I ever had. And yet it's not a cream sauce. But we make all those things happen, and I think it's extraordinary, and it makes us very proud.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is there a signature dish or dishes that kind of represent that perfect fusion that you've set up between French and kosher?
So it is not between French and kosher. It is really French. We happen to be kosher. Like I
Gotcha.
said, there's no compromising at all. If it's not the same, then it doesn't make the menu. I mean, I have a couple of signature dish. One is called a paupiette, which is layer of chicken, veal, prunes, and eggplant, and we serve it on pomme puree with truffle. Um, this is my signature dish, and I would make it with or without butter every day, of the week. Um, no, I mean, honestly, we becoming so good. We use a lot of duck fat. Like, thank God for the goose, right? And everything that comes to mind, we try. We
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. So, Brasserie has been open for a while. Is there a story that maybe a customer has shared with you that especially moved you and kind of told you, this is the restaurant I've been waiting for my entire life? Is there a
Yes.
kind of a special
Every night.
customer story?
Every night we have people who get very emotional. every night we have people that have a story of they were not eating kosher, they were not religious, and for the last 15 years, then when they switched to glad kosher restaurant, they have not been able to find again the flavor of a James Beard Award, like a restaurant or a Michelin level restaurant, and they come here and they're like, thank you, thank you, thank you, like all the time. I also have a lot of very religious women that thank me for having the balls. They may not use that word, but some do, to have the balls of making it as a woman, and how, they hope that more of me, do that, and how it takes balls to be in, number one in the kosher world as a woman, and number two, as a woman, as a chef and restaurant owner.
Wow. Fascinating. I mean, yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of, like you were saying, it takes a lot of balls to open up the type of restaurant you opened and to be successful. I mean, that's the work that you're describing in making kosher French food. It could have been very easy for you to kind of look at the balance sheet and go, it's not worth it. People aren't going to be willing to pay these prices, but you went out there and you went out on a limb and you trusted your gut and you trusted your instincts, and it's been pretty successful from what I can see.
Yes, but I mean, like I said, at the beginning of our chat, I mean, I'm not saving life,
Right.
I'm just here to enjoy my life and make people happy along the way if I can. But I am in no way, practicing open heart surgery. So at the end of the day, yeah, I do have the balls and the guts, to take challenges. But what if it doesn't work? Like, I mean, no,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna, the world will still, turn, and everybody will be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's gonna die.
The sun will still yet rise, right?
Exactly. So, like, I don't take myself too seriously. That's again what I've learned, from Chef Francois. You have to humor yourself. This is
Right.
not so serious. When I have people here that would need to wait 5 minutes for their table to be ready, that starts, like a drama or problem, I usually humor them very fast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal. You'll still, go to the bathroom the same way and put your underwear the same way tomorrow morning if you have to wait for 5 minutes. It's okay. So, yeah, that's my philosophy. Don't let people, like I say, don't let people bring any kind of toxicity in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So we didn't touch on this very much, but I wanted to talk about it. You were on Food Network in 2020 on Guy's Grocery Games,
Yeah.
talking about not taking yourself too seriously. How fun was that to be on that show on a national stage, promoting your cooking, and tell us a little bit about like how you got on the show. What was the experience like, and what did you learn from it?
So I got on the show by them calling me out of nowhere. Like
Wow.
I actually got an Instagram text, and I thought it wasn't, like serious. Then I look at the person, and it was, like someone from a casting agency. And then that's how the whole thing, started. And I went on the show refusing to watch one episode of the show. I didn't really want to know what it was about and stress. And I had a lot of fun. And I'm the kind of person, if you put me in front of a camera, or if you put a microphone, or if you put me on stage, I strive. I love it. So I don't get nervous, and I enjoy every second of it.
Wow. Any aspirations of being in another food competition show ever in the future, or was this a one-time thing?
No, I'd love to. I just
Yeah.
don't, go after, anything really. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm a little busy to worry about it or to look at the casting or everything. But no, I love it. I love competition. I'm competitive in a healthy way. Like I said, not taking yourself seriously is always better. And that's why I don't get the jitter. I don't get like anxious. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like,
Yeah.
nothing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so, what if your egg breaks on the side? Like, okay, so what? Like, nothing is that serious. So I enjoy doing that.
So for the last few minutes here, I just want to roll out the red carpet for you. What's next for Ostrow Brasserie? What projects, events, menu changes are you excited about? Anything you wanted to promote? Just want to give you a few minutes to let you promote whatever you want to promote.
Yeah, sure. I'd like someone out there to give me $2 million so I can open another restaurant in New York. I'll take Zelle and Venmo. Thank you very much. So that's my goal. I want to concentrate on opening in New York, and I'm working on a cooking book.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yes.
So in New York, the same kind of concept, or are you looking at something
Yes.
completely different?
No, very similar.
Oh, good. Well, good luck to you. Well, I'll look for the GoFundMe at some point in the future,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Go
Uh,
find me. 2 million. Boom, done. I
That's
love
awesome.
it.
So, where can people find out more about Ostrow Brasserie, more about you? Where can people follow you on socials or anything
So,
like that?
our Instagram is Ostrow Brasserie. If you go on Google and type Ostrow Brasserie, there's a lot of things that comes out. We have a very active social, like management, on our Instagram, and we try to keep up with our. We are very updated. Every time we make changes on our menu, we update our website, and we do change our menu often. Not the seller, but sometimes, we'll come across something incredible, a different cut, a wagyu, a sauce, or an ID, and then we'll, add it to the menu. So we like to play around.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Chef Olivia, it's just been a joy and an honor to talk to you this afternoon. It's highlighted my day. Great story. I loved listening to you talk. I could listen to you talk all day, but I know your time is precious.
Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do a marathon podcast one day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I just wanted to thank you for your time and for sharing your story with us. And I again, as I go to Miami at some point in the future, I will definitely put your restaurant on my list to go visit. And I hope you're there that night. I'd love to come and say
Oh
hi.
my God, I'm always there. I'm always there. No, I'm not, because I'm trying not to, but people do, people who come here enjoy my visit at their table, and I care about everybody who walks in my restaurant, and I try to meet, everybody. I make a point of it. So if I'm here, first of all, you'll cook with me. I'll take you back of the house.
That'd be
And
fantastic.
I do want to finish this by myself saying the honor was all mine. And thank you for having me today. It was a huge honor, and it was as well probably the highlight of my very long day today to be with you.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you so much.
Ciao, ciao.